take a breath. Right now, deep inside your chest, your lungs are pink. Soft, clean, healthy pink. Now picture the lungs of a person who lived 5,000 years ago, long before factories, before cars, before a single smokestack existed anywhere on Earth. You'd expect them to be cleaner than yours, purer, the original, untouched human lung. They were black, not gray, black, stained and clogged with soot like the lungs of a heavy smoker, except this person never touched tobacco in their life. And here is the uncomfortable question almost nobody asks. What if the one thing that made us human, the single invention we could not have survived without, was also quietly poisoning every person who ever used it? By the end of this, you'll know exactly what was eating their lungs from the inside, and you'll realize you are still breathing a version of it today. I'm Nerlin, and I fell down this rabbit hole for an entire weekend, expecting a simple, cozy story about clean prehistoric air. I came out a little disturbed because it turns out our ancestors spent their whole lives inside something closer to a gas chamber, one they built on purpose and could never afford to leave. So let's start with the gift before we get to the price. Somewhere around 1 million years ago, in a cave in southern Africa we now call Wonderwork, something changed forever. Deep in the layers of dirt, scientists found burnt bone and ash from controlled fire, one of the oldest solid traces anywhere of humans taming a flame. Before that discovery, most experts thought we only mastered fire around 400,000 years ago. Wonderwork dragged the clock back by hundreds of thousands of years, and fire did far more than keep us warm. According to Harvard's Richard Wrangham and his cooking hypothesis, fire is the reason you have the brain you are using right now. Raw food is expensive. Your body burns huge energy just chewing and digesting it. Cook it, and half that work is already done for you. Wrangham argues that once our ancestors started cooking, their guts shrank, and all that freed up energy poured into one hungry organ, the brain. Cooking, he estimates, handed early humans as much as 4 extra hours in every day. Fire fed the brain that eventually built everything. It is, without competition, the most important thing our species ever grabbed hold of. There was just one problem. To get everything fire gave them, they had to breathe it. Here's the part we never picture when we romanticize the past. An ancient home had no chimney, no vent, no extractor fan, often not even a real window. Just a fire burning in an enclosed space all day and all night. They cooked over it, slept around it, pressed against it through freezing nights, and worked by its light long after dark. And they weren't burning clean modern fuel. They burned wood, dried grass, animal dung, whatever they had, and all of it throws off thick, choking smoke loaded with soot and toxic gas. So picture an entire life lived inside that haze. Every meal, every cold night, every long winter, from the day you are born to the day you die, you are inhaling smoke. Not for an hour, for decades. So what does a lifetime of breathing your own hearth actually do to a human body? We don't have to guess, because some of those bodies survived. In 1991, hikers in the Alps found a man frozen in the ice. We call him Ötzi, and he died around 5,300 years ago, preserved almost perfectly, organs and all. When scientists examined his lungs, they found them coated in soot, blackened. The particles, they concluded, most likely came from years of sitting beside open indoor fires. Ötzi, this tough, healthy outdoor mountain man, carried the early signs of the very lung disease we'd expect in a lifelong smoker today. And he is not some freak exception. Travel to ancient Egypt, and a mummy named Henutmahit, buried more than 3,000 years back, shows the same scarring. Anthracosis, the medical word for soot-stained lungs, sitting right alongside signs of emphysema. Study after study on preserved bodies tells the same story. Soot-blackened lungs turn up again and again, in Egyptian mummies, in Peruvian ones, in the Aleutian dead. Anthracosis wasn't a rare misfortune. For anyone living with indoor fire, it was practically the default setting. Their lungs were going black, slowly and silently, across their whole lives. And it wasn't only smoke in there. When researchers looked closer at what was actually trapped inside Ötzi's chest, they found more than soot. Tiny mineral crystals, fine stone dust from the very land he walked on. Fragments of plant material, too, most likely the leftovers of threshing grain. And right beside the soot, they flagged the possible markings of a second disease, silicosis, the one you get from breathing in fine stone dust year after year. So their air wasn't just smoky, it was gritty. The ancient lung was quietly fighting on two fronts at once, soot from the fire they could never leave, and dust from the ground and the grain they had to live on. Two invisible enemies, breathed in side by side for a whole lifetime. So here's your first checkpoint and your first comment. Before this video, what did you imagine ancient air actually smelled like? Pine forest and clean mountain wind? Drop it in the comments, because the everyday reality was a face full of smoke. And the cruelest part of this whole story isn't the damage, it's that they could never stop. Personally, I think this is the most brutal bargain in our entire history, and almost no one talks about it. Think about what quitting the fire would actually mean. Put it out, and you freeze in the dark. Put it out, and you're back to raw food your gut can barely handle. Let the embers die, and the predators that hunt at night creep closer. The smoke was scarring their lungs, but the flame was the only thing standing between them and a faster, uglier death. So they had no real choice. They breathed the poison because every alternative was worse. We talk a lot about ancient humans and their vices, the alcohol, the plants that got them high, but the very first thing our species truly could not quit wasn't a drug at all. It was warmth. It was light. It was the fire in the middle of the room, and every single breath of it cost them a sliver of lung. Which brings up a question I actually want you to answer down below. If you knew for a fact that the cozy fire right in front of you was slowly hurting you, but switching it off meant freezing in the dark, could you walk away from it? Be honest with yourself. And now the part that drags this out of a history book and into your own home. Because you probably think this is finished. We've got chimneys now, gas, electric, clean air. The black lung problem belongs to the past. It doesn't. According to the World Health Organization, breathing smoke inside the home still kills around 3 million people every single year. Let that number land. Not in the Stone Age, now, this year. Around 3 million deaths, including more than 300,000 children under the age of 5, from the exact same thing that blackened Ötzi's chest. Smoke from open fires and dirty fuel, burned indoors, with nowhere to escape to. Heart disease, stroke, lung infections, the slow strangle of emphysema. Same hearth, same soot, same body. Billions of people on this planet still cook over open flame inside their walls. The ancient killer never died, it just changed address. And even if your own kitchen is spotless and electric, you've still met it. The campfire you lean into until your eyes sting. The candle, the incense, the gas burner, the traffic you sit in, the vape. Your body reads every bit of it the way Ötzi's did. The pull to gather around the fire is hundreds of thousands of years old, and so is the cough that comes with it. So here's what really changed between them and you, and it's smaller than you'd think. We didn't escape fire. We still burn things to stay alive. We just do it behind walls now, inside engines, inside power plants we never have to stand in. The single most important upgrade in this whole story wasn't quitting the flame. It was the chimney, the vent, the unglamorous little trick of pointing the smoke anywhere other than your own chest. For a million years, nobody had that. They got the warmth, the brain, the cooked meal, and they paid for every bit of it one breath at a time. So go back to the breath you took at the very start. Those clean, pink lungs sitting in your chest right now.
For almost the entire human story, that was one of the rarest things on Earth. Nearly everyone who came before you, the people who tamed the fire, cooked the first real meals, grew the brain you're thinking with this very second, almost all of them carried a little more darkness inside their chest with every year they managed to survive. They blackened their own lungs to build the world you get to breathe easy in. I'll be honest, I look at a campfire a little differently now. It used to be pure comfort. Now I see the oldest bargain our species ever made, still quietly glowing. So tell me, down in the comments, when was the last time you sat right next to a fire? And did you ever once stop to think about what you were actually breathing? I genuinely read these. I'm Nerlin. See you in the next one.